All right. Well, welcome to our Team Renewal coaching info group. I might call it a sneak peek. I might call it a glimpse into coaching, because over the last 7.5 years that I have been coaching, it goes by many different names. The beauty of coaching is you can do it anywhere, wearing anything, including your pajama pants. So everybody, I am just going to go around real quick and just say where you're from, where you are right now. So I'm in State College, Pennsylvania. Kaylin.
I'm in Morrisville, Pennsylvania.
Sarah.
I'm in Ackworth, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta.
Olivia.
I'm in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania.
Jennifer.
Anaheim, California.
Or West Coast. Dawn.
Pasadena, Maryland, right outside of Baltimore and Annapolis.
Cool. Beth.
I'm in Woodstock, Georgia, which is a Atlanta suburb.
Okay. There's a lot of Woodstocks. There's Woodstock, New York, and Woodstock, Vermont. Cool. Mary.
Mifflinburg, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we're going to probably have more people catching the replay of this recording of our Glimpse group. And so if you are watching the replay and this brings up questions, please don't hesitate. The whole point of this is to make space to hear stories, to hear kind of common questions, concerns, things that oftentimes a lot of those of us who are coaching know completely because we've been there ourselves. And so to just speak into them. And I think never do we want to sugarcoat everything and be like, this is the easiest thing, you can do it from anywhere, but because it does take work, anything. And I think part of my story is that there's not been a whole lot else in my life that has challenged me to grow quite the way that coaching has, but in a beautiful way. So there's 4 of us who are going to share a little bit of our stories. I have been around for a while. 7.5 years ago was when I started my first Beachbody group. And I was invited at that point. I had 2 kids. My first was about just turned 2, and I had a 5-month-old. And so I was coming out of, postpartum. I was tired. I was really, up until that point in my life, I'd never consistently exercised. I played some sports in high school, and in college, I do go to the gym for a couple weeks. I think during graduate school, I started actually running consistently for a little while, but that only lasted for so long. So had never really been super consistent. Nutrition was always a struggle too. And if I'm honest, it still is. One of my friends recently said to me, oftentimes our areas of greatest brokenness are also, or struggle is often our greatest area of ministry as well, because we can speak to the struggle. We're in process. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about coaching is we're all in this together. That's my theme song. But we are, right there with people. This has been one of the greatest forms of accountability for me. So I got invited to a challenge group by an elementary school friend from Maine who I hadn't reconnected with in who knows how long. And I get this Facebook invite to do the 21-day fix, because the 21-day fix, the original one, had just launched several months earlier. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm cheap. I don't want to spend much money. The only shake I've ever drank is Slim Fast, which is a load of crap. And it just was like, but I heard the words accountability, and I heard portion control, and I knew I need something. I remember sitting in bed with my husband and talking to him, and he was like, okay, whatever. Like, I think he wasn't quite sure, the investment, it felt like an investment, but it also felt like this could be a big deal. And it was. It was the first time I'd found consistent progress. And so about 4 weeks after I first ordered, I realized, oh shoot, my Shakeology shipped. And I did not cancel it. And a friend of mine was signing up as a coach, and she said, well, you can sign up and you can get the discount. And I was like, oh, there's a discount. I was like, well, I really like this stuff and I want to continue to use it, but we're on a budget. I'm teachers and musicians and all the things in ministry. And so I signed up primarily for the discount, but I started sharing my journey and my story. And suddenly it was like, oh, this is speaking to people. And I realized, oh, the Beachbody community is like, there's this cool, whole community of people that I didn't even realize existed. And they all seem pretty nice. And then I was like, oh, I can earn income doing this. And I was like, well, I'll run a challenge group. And so I had my friend that I signed up under, she just signed up, and I really had no idea what I was doing. I learned how to coach primarily from YouTube. Thankfully, in the case of our team here, there's lots of resources there, but you don't have to do that. And the Beachbody resources have come a long way since then. But I just realized, wow, this is actually really satisfying. It's holding me accountable, but also it's impactful. I'm seeing people's lives change. And then I was like, wait, I could earn a trip. I could go on a vacation. And I'm a sucker for things like that. I'm like, sign me up. And I realized if I, am continually helping people get healthy and focusing on my own goals, there's some really cool opportunities. And so I really kind of unexpected. I never would have seen myself go into this. I played sports, but I'm not much of an athlete. See me on stage, I'll give you a little dance and sing you a song. That's more my thing. And so, but I've always kind of been spurred on by community and being a part of something bigger than myself. And so that was literally 6 weeks after I started my first challenge group. I signed up as a coach. My first challenge group was May 27th, July 1st. I was like, okay, I'll be a coach. Which is not everybody's story, which we'll hear tonight. But, and so I really went at it, but I kind of just did it for oh, I'll help this person, I'll help this person. But I didn't really start to build. I had a small team at that point of coaches, but about 4 years ago, our lives kind of had a big upheaval. Lots of stuff hit the fan. And I really had to take a step back. And it was a really tough season. And I think it was extremely purposeful season. But really painful. And so a couple of years ago, I kind of stepped back in and I came back with some renewed vision. And I realized that I had these opportunities. I took a cruise. I traveled to Punta Cana. I traveled to Mexico. I got to go to the, annual coaching conference and earn my ticket and cool things like that. But I was like, if I just get to do that and I'm not, helping someone else have those experiences, then it's not having its full potential. And I think even more importantly than that, realizing having a deeper vision for the lives that can be changed through this, and not in necessarily people who say, I want to replace my full-time income, which is completely possible, but simply in having a team of coaches who are all doing something, whatever it is that they want to do. If that's, I'm helping a few people get started, that's if every single one of us here helps 2 people total, just think of the potential there. That's 16 people whose lives are changed. So I just realized wow, the potential for this, and seeing in my own life as someone who grew up with a mom who I love, but always hearing about her, I need to lose weight. I'm fat. I'm this, that, and realizing I have a choice. I have a chance to say this stops here at this generation in my family and the generational impact that can have. And if we grow a team of coaches, the generational impact that we can have together. So I just kind of developed this depth of vision that grew and came back okay, let's do this thing. And so it's been fun because yes, I've had the trips. Yes, I've had this, but more importantly, I'm seeing greater lives change, not just on the challenger customer level, but also starting to see coaches who we're doing this together, and it looks different for each of us. And we have different lives and life stages and seasons. But every single person matters and we're not in it alone. And it's the value of the community together. And I think a big part of my story is I'm still in process. Like there are certain months and seasons when all that crap hit the fan a few years ago, so did my nutrition. And so did my, for a lot of us when we're struggling, that's where it kind of hits us. And so I think I've had to kind of realize actually, my customers aren't looking for someone who's got it all together. They are looking for someone who understands and who's going to walk alongside them, but who's continually working to grow themselves. And one of the vital behaviors of a Beachbody coach is personal development. And so continuing to work on myself personally and grow has benefited my family. It's benefited obviously myself, but it's benefited my challengers and hopefully my team. So that's kind of my story. I'm gonna turn it over to Sarah. Nope, just kidding, Sarah. I'm gonna turn it over to Olivia. And Olivia is just gonna share a little bit of her story. Olivia, I don't know if you're gonna say this, but she has made some ridiculous progress that is just really cool. And so as her coach, to look at that and say, what if I never said yes? I mean, Olivia may have connected to someone else very well. It's not just like because Emily said yes, but like I'm just like, that's super cool. So take it away, Olivia.
Yeah, I think that is cool. So I actually started my health journey almost a year ago. And then I believe I counted it was 3 months into my joining a challenge group that I actually became a coach. And when Emily initially invited me, I was very hesitant because I was working full time plus some overtime. I had just gotten married. I was living with my parents, and my husband was we were living with my parents because we were waiting for construction on our house to be finished. It felt like I was overwhelmed to begin with. And I had no idea how I would fit that into my life. I felt like I was already to the max. But there were a few things that I knew true. I knew that just in those 3 months, I had gained so much personally from my Beachbody journey. I had already seen progress on the scale. I was learning how to actually eat foods that would fuel my body. And I was feeling like amazing just in those 3 months. And I knew that if Beachbody was helping me, if this was something that I was really gaining, and also joined a community that would help as well, because I had struggled with being able to talk about my fitness or my nutrition or just anything like that in general. And so finding this community, jumping in on a challenge group, I knew that helped me. And so I knew whenever Emily invited me to be a coach, I knew that if those things could help me in 3 months, how can I help people also join this community and find this in their own life? And so through the working full time, through all of the craziness, I decided to jump in. And I also kind of heard about being able to make some money. And I do want to put the disclaimer in, Beachbody doesn't guarantee any level of success or income from the Team Beachbody coach opportunity, but each coach's income depends on his or own efforts, diligence, and skill. And so I knew that if I could make a little bit more money to pay off my husband and I's student loans, that would be amazing, just to feel a little bit more financially free in our life. And so I dove in. I quickly learned that it was just going to be as difficult as I thought it would be to find those time slots where I could actually run the business. And so there were I was able to find some short periods of time throughout my day where I could fit just doing some business items in. And so I've really been using my lunch breaks at work. Yes, I work full time, and that lunch break is like a kind of like relaxed moment, but at the same time, I'm able to add in some of my personal development. Sometimes I'm listening to some podcasts. Today, I was listening to our national wake up call that Beachbody has. I will read sometimes just to add in my personal development. Other times that I've been able to fit some business in is while I'm waiting for dinner to cook, or in the evenings is what I'm really being able to use right now, the time in the evening. And oddly enough, I found that has been able, for me, because I'm working full time, actually been able to help me move forward in my business. And so one of the other items that I remember Emily always says, the daily activity tracker is one of those things, if you follow it, you'll be able to get the essential pieces of the business done. And I didn't believe her. But now in this season of really working my business, I've pulled it up every evening when I'm doing the work. And it's like, I'm able to see what I need to get done that is really essential. And I really like lists. I just made a post about this, but just being able to see what I need to get done and check that off the list has been so helpful for moving forward, and doing it in a way that is able to manage my time well. And it's really cool that the online tracker has like a timer. So ultimately, I was hesitant about adding this Beachbody business into my life when I'm working full time, but it truly has worked. And I've been able to reach out and have conversations with many other ladies about my journey and how that can help others. And I've just found so much joy in being able to catch up with people I've gone to high school and college with, and really have really enjoyed those conversations.
Well, thanks, Olivia. And I think something I love about our community is the focus on so much more than the physical progress, on the emotional progress. We hear all the time from the women in our groups about mental health and all of those kinds of things. But I do want to just highlight that Olivia's lost 50 pounds in the last year, and how much I think you has transformed beyond just the physical is really awesome. And yeah, it's a process of learning how do we work this into our lives in a way that's life-giving, because that's kind of the goal here, right? For everybody. Thank you. Sarah.
It's my turn. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to, I'm keeping an eye on the clock so that we can kind of keep things moving along here. And it should be relatively easy because I've only been a coach for a couple of months, but I also don't know how to shut up sometimes. So we're going to see how this goes. So here's my story. I have known Emily since grad school, which was way too long ago. We're not even going to talk about how long. And about 7 years ago, she reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try this Beachbody thing. And I was about 1.5 years past my first kid, and I never really did any kind of program thing like this, but I wanted to help support her. And so I jumped in and tried it, and I had a lot of success with it. And I got really healthy and fit and everything. And then I had another kid. And then I had to start all over again, except after the second kid, I really wasn't that interested in doing anything. And so that was my season at that time. And, along the way, I kind of watched her kind of go up and down with business. And so I kind of put it down for a while and didn't really do anything health wise. And then after my third child, I knew that I was ready to actually see what I could do. And so thankfully by then a lot had changed in the Beachbody world. We were not working from DVDs anymore. We had Beachbody on demand and I had access to all the things. And so thankfully Emily was very much back into the business too. So I just jumped right back in with her and finally figured out how to start a program and complete a program for the first time years later after, I had ever done anything before. And then did that multiple times. And then it was at that point that, she'd kind of send me a little nudge like, hey, I think you could try this coaching thing. And I'm like, no. Like I was doing some other things. I was selling LuLaRoe at the time. I was like, nope, I'm busy. I got other things. And then I stopped doing that. And then I found other excuses and I kept kind of pushing it off. And thankfully, Emily's a good enough friend that she was just like, okay. And then she'd disappear for a little while and then she'd wiggle her way back and keep nudging, but in a very gentle way every time. Even I didn't even realize it, but that at the time I was already learning how to become a coach just based on the way that she was and, the gentle way she was just encouraging me in my own health and fitness, but also in you could also try something more. And I jumped onto one of these things and, got all the questions answered and whatnot. And yet still it was a year ago this month that I did one of these glimpse into coaching things. And I just became a coach 3 months ago. So it took a long time. And, I think I was using every excuse in the book as to why I couldn't be a coach. I think one of the things I thought was who am I to tell somebody else how to be, how to work out and how to be nutritious and all this stuff. I feel like some days I kind of sort of have a clue and other days I want nothing to do with it, and so I kept thinking if somebody comes to me and has a question about all this stuff, I'm not going to know the answers. And so that was a big reason that scared me away from trying it. And then quite honestly, I think what it came down to and what finally made me make the decision is every once in a while I would have a little, question from a friend or family member, what is it you're doing? You keep every once in a while I hear you're finishing some kind of program. What is this program thing that you're doing? And then eventually my own mother tells me, this woman who has never done an exercise program in her life that I know of is now telling me that she wants me to connect her with Emily because she wants to work out. And I'm like, all right, now it's time to knock this off. I need to reap the benefits from all these people. So here I am. And I, jumped in, and to be completely honest, I think I knew getting in that I didn't really know everything. I am now learning that there's a lot I didn't know. But the biggest thing I'm learning is that it's still a work in progress. It's just on a different level. It's just a different, it's kind of coming from a different angle, but it's still a growth that I'm, gaining every day. And, I've really been able to, one of the biggest reasons why I really wanted to do this is because, Emily lives in Pennsylvania and I live in Georgia, and we don't get to see each other that often. And, I wanted to see more of her. So I get to see her a lot now. But, on top of that, like, I'm grateful that I'm also in a situation where, I teach private music lessons. My husband is an engineer and he's doing really well in his business and stuff. And so money wasn't really a huge motivator for me for getting into this. But the idea of possibly getting to go on trips with friends and new friends and stuff definitely was a good motivator. And so that's one of the big reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because, there's a trip that I could go on in St. Louis next year without kids, and I want to go. So here we go. Let's keep pushing. So that's my story.
I love it. And Sarah, can you just for a moment, you have a pretty sweet little group of ladies that has gotten started. Can you just speak to kind of how that has been life-giving to you and to them?
Yeah, so it's just a handful of ladies, and it's like a nice little small community, and some of them know each other and some of them don't. And they're kind of part of the Beachbody group thing, but then we also have kind of a nice little messenger group that I just check in. It's a lot faster to kind of just check in more personally with them. And they encourage each other, and it's just, we joke around a lot. And I just found out that one of them signed me up for a turkey trot next week that I had no idea about, but that's what I get to do, and I go on vacation next week, so I'm super excited. But yeah, I mean, it's just that kind of community, and some of them are already seeing huge numbers with, they're following through on their programs and they're doing that. And just like you said, just knowing that I connected that one or two people with programs, and now they're seeing big changes in their life that they've never really had before. I mean, that's that kind of feeling you can't really get anywhere else. So it's been pretty awesome.
Cool. I love it. One thing I also love about your community of ladies is the age range, which is cool. So, and that's something that I think what I appreciate about Beachbody so much is pretty much you can find something for everybody. My mom is, how old am I? 38. So she's 67. And she did 9-week control freak. And you don't look at my mom and think like, oh, she's a beast of all, that's, she's like 4'10" and just, she's a mom. And, but, people of all ages are finding, we can find something. And even just this last month, I had someone who was just struggling. And I said, the beautiful thing is I was able to say, why don't you not do a fitness program and let's do unstressed 21 days of meditation, 10 minutes a day. Like that's valid, because Beachbody has just taken so much of a bigger look beyond just the finishing a fitness program. Like, yes, nutrition matters. Yes, we need to move our body, but just the bigger kind of overall health. So cool. I love it. Thanks, Sarah. And we're going to wrap up our stories with Jennifer. Another story of Emily bothering her for a long time.
I was laughing because I'm like, I think that Olivia might be the fastest one to say yes in this little group of ours, because that was only 3 months and it took 7 years for Sarah and like 5 years for me. So I actually
just be clear, that doesn't need to be everybody's story. It was 6 weeks for me. So.
But truth be told, I had a million reasons. Some of them were very, I started my Beachbody journey a little over 5 years ago with a different coach. And she approached me right away about coaching. I hated to exercise. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. I'm not gonna be a health and fitness coach. I hate this stuff. Like, I'm doing it because it's good for me, but right? I'm not gonna be able to sell this to anybody else. I hate doing it. Gradually that narrative changed, obviously. But my journey I had reasons, and I had valid reasons. I had reasons that were conflict of interest with people in my family. But well, not everybody, but COVID hit and took a huge hit on my family's business. And we were all on unemployment, and it looked like there wasn't a huge guarantee that I would be able to come back to work with our family business, at least right away, and maybe never. And it looked really bleak. I was starting to feel all of the feels of it. And I just started to honestly pray about where I needed to go and where God wanted me to be, and how we were going to get through what was becoming really nitty gritty in our personal life and our financial life. So as I was praying, it just became heavier and heavier on my heart that what I really loved was sharing with people, being committed, or being just connecting with people and community. And this little, like, in the back of my head said, you love Beachbody. You love your Beachbody community. And it never went away. And I would try to push it down, and it would just keep bubbling back up. And every time I was praying about where I was supposed to be, that bubble just got bigger and bigger. And Emily had always had this little nudge in my ear. She would say, tell me again why you're not doing this. And I would tell her all of the reasons again, because Emily, sometimes she forgets things because she got a lot going on. So I would tell her the story again. I say, Emily, I told you that already. But one time she said, I'm doing this glimpse into coaching, and would you be interested? And I answered on the poll, maybe. And she messaged me almost right away, like, did you just say maybe? And that was the start. The things that I love about doing this are what we have all been doing tonight. It's the community, it's the connecting, it's the being there for each other. And that doesn't mean just in our health and fitness journeys. I can point to more than one of you, even if you don't know this, who have encouraged me through things that have nothing to do with that, just life, being a mom. Some of us have kids who are very similar to each other, and we support each other as moms. Like, yep, been there, done that. It's going to be okay. You'll get through it today. So this community is probably the biggest reason why I'm here and why I want to stay here and why I keep doing what I'm doing, because I want to invite more people to benefit the way that we all have from being a part of it. I had lots of concerns, but my biggest one was that I think I knew 20 Beachbody coaches. There is an oversaturation of coaches in this market. But what I've learned is that we all connect to different people, and that fear and that concern kind of gradually just dissipated. And it dissipated by me connecting with other people and being able to help them along on their health and fitness journeys. And what I think is really funny is that I think I had only been doing this for about maybe a week, and my friend was going to do it with me. And I'm like, we can have our own accountability group. And I was just taking like the groups that I was in and replicating that for her. So I was sharing with everybody that they should just, connect with this awesome 21-day fix program. I just found a text message for somebody who I just signed up and I'm working with this month. I told her to join PIO and do PIO like 4.5 years ago. And my last text message from her or to her was, how did you like PIO? Did you get it yet? Have you started yet? Honestly, I think that I've been coaching since I started my journey. I just didn't know it yet. So it just made sense that I should earn the income, not everybody else that I was sending them to. So that's why I'm here. That's why I love it. I have to wrap it up pretty quickly because it's 6:10 in California and my family thinks they need to eat dinner. So that's the end of my story.
Cool. And we will wrap it up too. Thank you for sharing. And I think the beautiful thing is different you know, if you look across the Beachbody community, and one of the things I love about going to in-person events is there's like, oh, there's a 22-year-old and oh, there's a like 70-year-old coach. Like it's just every age, male, female, although it's a lot of women, but there's also a lot of male coaches. You know, different life stages, different, just it's a very diverse crowd, but all kind of focused on like, we're all here to work towards being the best version of ourselves, not the perfect. Like our kind of mantra in our community is present over perfect, progress over perfection. And that goes for both coaching and for just our own health and fitness, our own just life. And I think one of the biggest things that as a group we talk about a lot is just how can we add value to people's lives? How can we throw light on things and be a positive presence? And we get to do that together. So I am, I'm not going anywhere. I'm a lifer, as they call them. And I've just realized like, I've had another coach, she's not on here, and we've got some other ladies who are not present tonight, but who said, you know what, whether anybody ever joined me, I'd still be doing this anyway, because it keeps me, you know, at my best, continuing to prioritize myself, my own health, so I can, you know, better love and take care of other people. So, so for me, I think, you know, there's so much of that. I'm also seeing in this current season, like I had taught voice a lot. I taught at a college for the last 9 years, but with COVID and a move in the last year and a half, all of that went away. And it's been neat to see how the business, you know, when I really was digging in, has replaced that income and also made space for Beachbody does not guarantee any level of success or income, but has allowed me to actually make space in my life to breathe a little bit and to realize what actually is kind of stirring. And for me, it's a faith thing, like what God is kind of bringing to the surface of like, where do I really want to put my time and energies, rather than I have to do this, or I need to do this, or kind of, you know, pigeonholing myself into one thing. So, so that's kind of the end of this, because we'll make space. We want to make space for questions. So just, we may or may not have any tonight, but from anything that anybody said tonight, and this could come from anybody who's here tonight, even those of us who are coaches, is there anything that you heard that you're like, oh, I have a question about that, or I'd like to hear, because I know like Mary and Caitlin, you're just starting your coaching journey for the first time. Anything that you heard that you have a question about, or just that kind of resonated with you? And if not, that's okay too.
Well, in listening to all of you ladies share, this has been such an amazing time for me. I lost my mom last year, and I feel like I just realized in listening to all you share, like everyone says everything about the community, and that was huge for me. You're my moms. You're taking some of that place of her, and then what I needed was a group of people to turn to. Yeah, it's great that I lost all this weight, but to have this group of women, amazing women to be a part of, and to share my journey and hear your journey. So thank you. I just want to say thank you.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah.
I love just hearing your stories. It's just helped me get to know you guys better. So thank you for sharing them.
Mary, we were on that glimpse call together.
Yes, we were.
So funny.
You just put the pedal to the metal.
Only a couple months earlier.
Well, you also just had a baby, Mary.
I know, but still, I was like, she's killing it, and I'm like the tortoise. She's the hare.
I think that's the beauty of this, is it looks different for everybody. And some of us are ready to put the pedal to the metal, and some of us are like, I'm gonna take it one little step at a time, and that's okay too. And I think that's one of the things that shifted in my leadership too, is I think there was a point where it's like, I wanted it for everybody in the same way, maybe more than people wanted it for themselves, and realizing like, I think I wasn't always honoring, like, and it wasn't, I don't think I was pushy, but at the same time, just realizing like we're all coming from different places and it's going to look different. And I think my biggest thing is I want to know the coaches on our team. I want to know what it is you want and to help you get there, but also recognizing like for each of us, there's going to be the limiting beliefs and the things that we all need to work through and process, which is why this business just helps us to grow and as human beings, because usually those limiting beliefs or those struggles don't just affect us in coaching. They're things that play out in other areas of our lives. And when we actually kind of are willing to go there and grow, it affects every other area of our lives too. So cool. Well, thank you ladies for being here. Beth, Mary, Dawn, Jennifer, Olivia, Sarah, Caitlin. Appreciate it. This is going to be a recording then that we can also share because there are some other women who weren't able to be present. So if you're watching the recording and this brings up questions or anything like that, we want to hear from you. Our goal is not to make this a one size fits all thing, but to just help you discern, is this a good fit for me? We do have the I'm trying to think what it's called. There's the 10-minute video all about that we've shared in the Facebook group. If you're in there, that's about just kind of the logistics of coaching. How do you become a coach? How do you earn money? All those kinds of basic questions that a lot of people have. And then right after this, there's going to be a post that goes up. It's just one other short video. That's what I didn't expect about coaching. Things that just kind of have been positive, but that people did not expect to get from those. So those are kind of our two sandwich things there, just to kind of give the real logistics here of how does this all work. So we're going to wrap it up at this time, but thank you ladies for sharing. I love this. It blessed me in a big way. And I think just knowing each other better is a blessing. So cool. Thanks for being on. Beth, I have to tell you, I have always seen your name because you're good friends with Sarah. And I'm like, now I'm making the connection. So I love it. Cool. All right, ladies, have a good night. Yeah.